Aunt Bee. It's a real shame that you didn't win the Bee Best Pickle competition at the county fair. Oh, that's all right, Barney. I've won it the past 4 straight years, and everybody loves my pickles. It's really fun. Actually, Aunt Bee, your pickles kind of taste like kerosene. They're really kind of bad. In fact, some people have died from eating them. Oh no, I didn't know that. That's a real eye-opener. I thought everybody loved them. Everybody loved them at the pickle rallies. All the best senators loved them, and the best judges loved them. Oh my, do you suppose I'm not really good at making pickles? Do you suppose I should just stop making pickles? Maybe retire from making pickles at this point? My, Barney, you've really given me something to think about. I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to go pay a visit to my friend Otis down at the station. He always knows when he needs a break. Thank you for this. I will see you later. Welcome everybody to the 33rd episode of Living Figuratively. This is the show that asks the question, why not fill your home with the fascinating faces and figures of people that you don't even know? Why not fill your home with figurative art? Tonight, the 33rd episode, we are going to take a visit back to the Love Athena Triptych, which has gone through some major revisions. During its lockdown time, let me explain what the Love Athena is, just like in a quick nutshell. The Love Athena Triptych is the painting that bridges the gap between my Chicks with Balls project and the Goddess project, where I look at the mythology of all religions and through a contemporary feminist lens. The Love Athena Triptych, I cast myself as Athena, who is, instead of wielding her sword and wielding evil, she wields her paintbrush on her sisters and protects them. One of the other things about the Love Athena Triptych is that many of the women that posed for it had originally posed for my Chicks project and had, since they first posed, some of them have gone through some major life changes, some of them through hell and back. And yet all the while protecting the people that they love too, which I show because each one of them is holding their own shields. Many of them have gone through protracted divorces, have gone through severe losses, have gone through transgender surgeries and transgender issues. One of them in particular, my friend Pam, has the additional burden of societal racism to protect her loved ones from. This one right here, let me show you. Okay, this is my friend Pam, who I've known her since the turn of the century, which, the turn of the 21st century, when we moved to the same neighborhood and our kids were the same age and we made friends through neighborhood playgroup and we started hanging out. One of the things that I have the differences in the way that Pam raised her kids versus the way I raised my kids, and I'll just give you a little example. We played outside a lot. This was back in the day. Everybody was little. They were toddlers. They were pre-toddlers. They were, babies. We played outside a lot. As our kids were, and I had 3 boys. She had 2 boys and 1 girl. As our kids were potty training and, growing up and everything like that, one of the things, I would always let my kids pee in the backyard. I was fine with it because they were always dirty. I didn't want to clean them back up, send them back in the house. I told them to pee on the plants so that the deer wouldn't eat them. Pam was definitely very adamant that her kids not pee in the backyard. She made them clean up, made them go inside, go to the bathroom, and then come back out and play. And looking back on this is one of the many different things that when you're a Black woman raising your kids, you do things, some things a little bit differently, because you know that there will be different rules for your children growing up into young adults. She also had strict rules about her kids addressing adults as Mr. and Mrs. So-and-so instead of by their first names. Eventually, people came to call me Miss Judy, which, was perfectly fine. But she was definitely a Mr. and Mrs. So-and-so, in addressing adults. She also would take the time to really reason with her kids so that they would make the right choices instead of ordering them to do things, which I had a tendency to do that, just out of expediency, and that was just kind of my way. But I can see, looking back, all these things were strategic maneuvers to raise her kids to live in this society that would not necessarily give them the benefit of the doubt. Were they pulled over for having a tail light out, or some kind of traffic violation, or even not a traffic violation, just plain old pulled over. And as an African American parent, you also, when the kids get older and learn to drive, you give them the talk, where you basically give them the skills and the procedures and things that they need to know in order not to be perceived as dangerous and a threat if you get pulled over in your car. And so growing up with all that, this was back in the early 20th century, as a liberal person, you try to be, and this is what I tried to be, you tried to be colorblind. Pam was my friend, period. But being colorblind, you kind of look away sometimes when you see your friends struggling with societal racism, and you try not to talk about it or point it out because, I don't know, it's uncomfortable. So Pam posed for my original Chips with Balls project, and then she posed again for the Love Athena Triptych, which I hurried to try to finish, because this was the last painting that I did. The 3 pieces were the last ones that I did before sending off to Zanesville for the Zanesville Museum of Art show. And there was an expression, Pam's expression was one that I was always trying to achieve. And I'm not going to say that I achieved that expression. The expression was a little bit mom knows best, a little bit humor, twinkle in her eye, and sort of that reasonable calm feeling that I always got from her. She always had this beautiful way of explaining things, and I'm going to explain one of the things that she had explained to me. Okay, like sort of a teaching moment kind of a thing for me. I have always been confused by relative time. So what's relative time? Relative time is like when people say things like, let's push up the meeting, or let's push back the luncheon, or set your clocks ahead, set your clocks behind. I'm 1 hour behind you, I'm 1 hour ahead of you. All those things confuse me because I don't know whether it's like 1 hour later, 1 hour earlier, should I come an hour later than I planned? Should I come an hour earlier than I planned? They all confuse me. And don't even get me started on turning up the air conditioner or turning down the air conditioner. Make it colder, make it hotter. I don't know which one means what. So naturally, time zones confuse me too. And when Pam moved to Nebraska is in a different time zone than we are here on Eastern Standard Time. And I was always confused because, it's like, are they an hour behind me? Does that mean that they're, earlier than me or later than me, or what the time is? And Pam said, and these words just stick in my mind now, she said, subtract 1 hour. Just simple, subtract 1 hour. And as soon as she said that, it just made it clear. So like now, with time zone questions, I keep hearing Pam's voice in my head that subtract 1 hour. And I know, because I'm not a flat earther, that like mountain time, you subtract 2 hours, and for Pacific time, you subtract 3 hours. And when you go to Europe, you're going to add hours, you add 5 hours, or you add 6 hours. So Pam's voice is always in my head. So that was the expression that I was trying to capture, sort of a little bit of, fun and wise kind of expression. But before I shipped it off to Zanesville, I hadn't quite captured that expression, but it kind of had to be good enough. So when it came back from Zanesville after 5 months of lockdown and COVID, and I saw the portrait again, and I even presented it here on Living Figuratively, I knew that the expression wasn't right. I knew that it was wrong. So I made the commitment or the decision that I was going to go back in and change it. And one of the reasons, so what I tried to do was to repaint that expression. I did some studies. The studies with the original expression that I was going for just didn't come to be. They just couldn't work. And in fact, I painted over them because they were not good. So I decided that the expression needed to change. And that was mostly fueled by the decision, by the fact that the world had changed in the meantime during the COVID lockdown time. Because at the end of COVID lockdown, the Black Lives Matter movement came back to the forefront with a major horrible thing that happened, which was the murder of George Floyd by a police officer with 3 other police officers watching. When that happened in May, the cities erupted in protests and protests of racism and police brutality all over the country and all over the world. It was a major thing that brought that subject back up again and again. I mean, that subject happens again and again and again. But this particular time, they had 9 minutes of footage filming the police officer murdering George Floyd. So it was, the world had changed, and I felt that Pam's expression, the whole protecting her children, protecting each other, it needed to be more of a serious thing. And so I changed her expression, and I'm super happy with it. I did do some studies before I went back in, because it is a major thing to go back into a 3-part painting and change one part of it, because you really kind of risk having to repaint the whole thing, because maybe it will have a different character than the rest of the painting. That's always an issue. Or maybe it will be too belabored, or maybe it just won't work, and you've sacrificed good in pursuit of perfect. But nobody was waiting for the painting. There was no place for it to go. It was COVID lockdowns, and I rolled up my sleeves. I did a study, which is not here right now because it is at Pam's house. I sent it to her for her birthday, which is tomorrow, which is also why I wore my favorite dress of hers. So I changed her expression to reflect the seriousness of our world, the seriousness of the issues that need to be fixed in our world as far as systemic racism and as far as parents protecting their own children from, police brutality. So Black Lives Matter, and I feel that the portrait now says a little bit more about that. Now, one of the issues that happened was I had printed 250 books. 250 books, Chicks with Balls books, were published with the old portrait in it. And I really wanted the new portrait in it, but I couldn't reprint the books. So what I did was I made this little insert, which tucks nicely into the book. And it will be sold with all the new books that are being sold right now. I did not republish the book. And if you have one of the old books, I would love to send you the insert so that you can have it. And it's a signed insert right there. I signed it with my signature. I would love to send this to you. So if you want it, private message me or email me your home address, and I will put one in the mail to you right now. And all the future books will be sold with the insert. And if you just want the insert and you don't want the book, send me, PayPal me $5 and I will send you just the insert. So that is what I did, and I want to thank you all for joining me tonight for this sort of quick happy birthday Living Figuratively about the Love Athena Triptych. Next week, be sure to come back, same bad time, same bad channel. We're going to be taking the show back on the road for shopping the art shows. This time we're going to the Valley Art Center for the 49th annual juried exhibition, which I have a painting in, but I've already talked about that and you already know what it is, so I'm going to be focusing on the other figurative works in that show. And I look forward to seeing you, same bat time, same bat channel, next week, November 19th, 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, Thursday night. Y'all come back now, you hear?